So it's actually 1 degree Celsius this morning in Omeo. Bit of a frost last night. Damn, she got cold. Anyway, this is the bank that I've been drifting into. Getting some good gold out of there. As you can see to the right, there's a whole bunch of debris. And I believe that that's from where the bank previously eroded. Maybe the water was racing down and sort of took it out and it's collapsed there. And so I've been moving these boulders out of the way and washing that dirt, working from right to left. But my suspicions are that I'm in an old ancient tertiary channel, I think they might call it, or a ancient deposit from when the river or the creek was much older. And the water slowed down in this section at one point in time and allowed the gold to be deposited here. But it's right on the base layer of the clay, and it's not in the general line of the creek. It's working up into the bank, and it's very indicative of what the old timers were looking for. They would test along the sides, both sides, see where the gold stopped and started, and then they would work adjacent and make their way up into that old ancient lead. On the benches, as they say. They were working the gold on the benches. They were very clever, very switched on, knew a lot about geology, understood what they had to do to get the gold. They understood that there was only a certain amount of gravel in the rivers and creeks that they were going to be able to clean before they had to go look for it elsewhere. So on this little series, what I'm going to do is we're going to do some basic drifting, some sluicing. We're going to get the gold. We're going to clear this bank out. We're going to work every inch that we can, and then we're going to go up, and I'm going to dig a test shaft up there. I probably don't know exactly where I'll go. Those 3 trees are going to be a bit of a pain in the ass. And I might try to keep it in line from where I've been getting the gold in here. So we'll just go up maybe 2 meters and dig a test shaft straight down, get to that layer, and we'll find out if the gold runs up. If the gold runs up, we're in for a treat. Then it's consistent gold. I'll be able to dig that shaft and chase it either way. Triangulate it like the old timers did. Anyway, very interesting stuff, very educational. This is all going to be filmed on the phone, so the audio, the video is not going to be that great, but we'll get there in the end. Thanks for coming along. Let's get stuck into it. So we're down into a nice little pay layer here. You can see it's the same type of gravel stacked on top of the clay layer. And I think there's going to be a good bit of gold in it. So it should be alright. So we'll smash this bank open, keep washing the dirt, see what happens. Alright guys, I've just been drifting away for the last half an hour, pushing a lot of material through the sluice. I'm going to do a little cleanup and see what we got. And yeah, if we're doing alright, we're going to keep making our way along. All the way along up, probably up to that section of bedrock there. We're going to try going as far as we can without having it collapse on us. And then once we're done working all this material and the gold stops, we're going to dig that shaft. That's still a little ways away yet. Anyway, let's get to it. Sluice is working real nice in that spot. Clearing all the big rocks, that's what I want. So we moved back up to where it was chunky. And it was a good move because you don't want to waste your time where the gold isn't. And we got a little picker in that little run. picture's good. I wish I could show you the, there you go. All the glare off the, there we go, it's better. So we've moved up, found the chunky stuff again. And that's what you got to do. Spend a little bit of time seeing if it gets better. And then if it doesn't, you go back to sort of where it was in the first place. That's such a nice little piece. That's what you want. That's the stuff that adds up. Looks really good too. Really prickly, really reefy. So now that I know that I'm back on it, I can just go to work. Shovel as much material through the sluice as possible, and that's how you get your gold. You got to work fast, you got to be efficient, otherwise you're screwed. Anyway, so now we're getting onto some really good ground. I know I'm confident that I'm on the gold. Just got to keep drifting in, breaking up new material, freeing up the good stuff. Hopefully this drift doesn't collapse on me. Got a good rhythm on now, so basically just pushing it through as fast as I can. Gotta work. Work like a dog. If you want it. That's the way it's always been. Doesn't matter if you're sluicing, dredging, mining. Doesn't matter how you get it, it's always going to be work. Big old tailings pile. It's like Conor McGregor says, 3 people died to make this necklace. 3 people died making this necklace. So true. The shit you gotta go through to get gold. She's never easy. Absolutely blessed with the sluicing setup. The flow of water is perfect, the incline's perfect, and I'm just sort of fanning it through the sluice with the shovel to get the bigger rocks through. She's working a treat. Got this big rock here, and that's like stopped a lot of material in the ancient riverbed maybe. That's why all this gold is locked up down here. in these gold fields, you really got to think about ancient times. You're not getting freshly washed down alluvial gold. It's not happening. You're getting gold from the ancient times. Alright, we're going to do a little cleanup and see if we can actually locate. I feel like I'm getting it on either side of this bit of bedrock here. There's just a lot of good mixed gravels in there. It's a good spot. So anyway, we'll do a cleanup. So right there we have a bit of gold. That's sick, because when you see it show up on the top layer, providing that you've been digging in the good stuff the whole time, this whole mat should be full. Yeah, real cool, very exciting. Anyway, let's clean it up. Let's see what's in there. So one more little look at that flake. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Get enough of that and you'll be laughing. So it's not going too bad, but I've just fallen off that chunky stuff a little bit, which is not ideal. Not ideal, but anyway, it's working. Little diagram of how you would chase the gold in this situation. So if you're getting it in a certain part of the creek or the river in the banks, then there's a good chance that there could have been a bit of a deposit there from in the ancient times, when that creek or that river ran up higher on either side. So as we know, rivers meander over time, and the old timers were chasing those old tertiary channels, the benches, those old ancient Paleozoic deposits of what I would actually call alluvial gold, because it got locked up and it's definitely not as water worn as what traditional alluvial gold is. So some may argue with me on that. I'm not saying that I'm 100% correct. These are just my theories. Everything's trial and error. The gold is where it is. We all know that. But there are certain techniques, skills, and hidden knowledges that the old timers did have, which prove that this is all correct. And I've tried it and I've tested in the field and it works. Jeff Williams, he's a very, very switched on geologist. He's the one that's pretty much influenced my techniques, and I've followed him and I've always found the gold. So get on to Jeff. He's a funny bloke, and yeah, he'll teach you a lot. The thing about Omeo gold is it's very coarse, it's very shoddy, and in the old times, when the old timers had a lot of wash to put through the cradles and the sluice boxes, they would have done very well because of this, because of the nature of the shoddiness of the gold. The old timers did speak of it being that way, and it was so cool to go find it and actually see that it was the way they said it was in the old texts. They weren't lying, these boys. They had a lot of integrity, and their reputations were the only thing that they had back then. So it's very interesting to see that the facts are as they say they are in the books. So this gentleman here, his name is Richard McKay. He was a miner, a prospector, and a gold assayer. He worked for the banks, and he basically bought up the gold off the prospectors and the miners. He assayed the gold, worked out the quality of the gold, and then paid the prospectors and the miners with a check. They took the check to the bank, they got the money, and that's how it worked. He's got some very interesting stories in this book. It's called Recollections of Early Gippsland Goldfields. Absolutely amazing book. The temptation to pass off the inferior article for genuine 23-carat gold being very strong, and human nature not very different then to what it is today. Fairly large parcels of inferior and mixed gold used to find their way through the storekeepers and others to the various banks, which were then in keen competition for the bullion. So what he's saying is, back in the old times, these guys used to take the high quality gold from different districts and mix it with lower quality gold from other districts. Omeo was known to have a lower quality gold, and they got less money for it, in other words. Very interesting. In this one account, Richard had this guy come into his bank, his store, I guess you could say, and he had 70 ounces of gold on him. And on the top of the parcel was all of the very high quality 23-carat gold. And Mr. McKay paid this man for the high quality gold. It wasn't until later he got the rest of the gold out and tested it on a turkey stone. And he worked out that the inferior gold was the Omeo gold. It was on the bottom of the parcel. So this sneaky bugger had ripped old Richard McKay off and taken his money, and he was out of there. But the only thing is Richard had all the details of this man, knew which bank that he banked with, and was able to sort of address the issue and get compensated for being ripped off. Found that they left on the stone streaks of a lighter colour than that of the district gold. I had been got at alright. It was Omeo gold, and I stood to lose on the purchase. Not only the difference in value on a say, which might be of large or lesser amount, but both my reputation as a gold buyer and my position in the bank were at stake. Very interesting. So apparently the Omeo gold wasn't as good of quality as other districts, but I found it to be shoddy, like he had mentioned in the text, which is quite interesting. So if you guys want to see me dig a shaft up higher up on that bank and see if I can chase the gold in that ancient lead, then give us a like, subscribe, drop a comment, all those things, and help grow the channel, and I might get back up there with the shovel and have a good crack. Cheers.